everyone for being here tonight. This is the first of many of TEDx BRONX. My name is Danielle. Most people know me as Danny. I'm from Highbridge, the tall white building off of the Major Deacon, for those who know the area. And we have an amazing lineup for you tonight. Thank you to everyone that's here. I want to thank our sponsors, Amazon, Gun Hill Brewery, BronxNet, who is doing the media for us. Thank you to all the volunteers, to Majora Carter and James Chase, who own this amazing venue, Bronxlandia. And we have an incredible lineup for everyone tonight. Thank you to all the volunteers, all the sponsors, and all the speakers. Everyone here tonight is from the Bronx. And this is our love letter. This is our love letter to what I know to believe the best borough in New York City. And even though all of our speakers come from different backgrounds, different neighborhoods, they all share the same Bronx grit, stamina, determination, and resilience. I'm so proud to be from this borough, so proud to be a Bronxite. And I'm going to introduce our host for tonight, John Conyers, the professional winner, straight out of Webster.
Hey, how you doing today, ladies and gentlemen? Clap it up. So as you heard, my name is John Conyers. I'm the professional winner from the Bronx. I'm excited. I am honored to be you guys' host today. We're going to have a great time. We're going to do some amazing things, and we're going to make sure at the end of the day that people are begging to have this event again, all right? So I'm going to start off. I want to tell you guys about my favorite book, all right? And the name of this book is called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And there's one quote in this book that every day when I wake up, it resonates in my mind. And that quote is, any person, anyhow, anyone who knows they how can live through their why. And what does that mean? Today, you're about to hear people why. You're about to hear their passions, why they do what they do, why they're Bronx strong, and why they are professional winners. So guys, I'm honored again to be here. We don't just have speakers, we have entertainers, and we're gonna show why the Bronx is united, why we are a community, and why as one, we can make change, and that we deserve this stage also. Chastity, you ready? Everyone, clap it up for Chastity the poet.
I got the Bronx running through my body. I say yerp when I call somebody. 98 cause I am a hottie. Poetry, you know it's not a hobby. So tonight's theme is Ignite, okay? And Ignite has two definitions. Ignite means to cause to catch fire. And in the 70s, the state of the Bronx was dire. There was Carter and Reagan, but it was really the Bronxites' desire. That's what put out the flame to that fire. Ignite also means to arouse or inflame. There was a second fire, but it didn't burn the same. Community grassroots, organizing amongst the pain. Imagine rebuilding your neighborhood after watching it burn down in flames. They paid someone in a neighborhood $3 to burn down a building. That's what I heard someone say. And so they rebuilt. Some said stand your ground, and so they stood until they died so that we could survive. I hope you guys been ignited.
We want to introduce Michael Blake, Bronx native, former assemblyman. He's going to give some words for the Bronx, all right?
What's going on, Bronx? How we doing tonight? I said, what's going on, Bronx? How we doing tonight? I said, what's going on, Bronx? How we doing tonight? First and foremost, can we just clap it up for ourselves? Show love to everybody in the room, in the space right here. To George, to Danielle, to everybody that made it happen on tonight. To Majora Carter, thank you for hosting us all day, every day. When you think about TEDx, when you think about X, when you think of what's going on, I want you to always think about the X, and I want you to think about the Bronx. Something gets better when you think about the X. Something gets better in your life when you think about the Bronx. And I think for all of us in this room, especially for me, from Creston and Burnside, we are sick and tired of being disrespected because we're from the Bronx. So when we reflect on why tonight matters, it's not just about what happens for tonight. It's about sending the message of how will they remember the X. Y'all still with me right now? It's the reflection. If you like me, I went to Clinton, you understand the appreciation of this right here. Black Panther for Stan Lee. What did they do for Black Panther for Wakanda? They threw up the X. When they understand what was going on in our communities, they throw up the X. Anytime they try to remind people what's possible, they change it by putting up the X. It's not Ted Z, it's not Ted Y, it's TEDx. I think everybody tries to copy the Bronx. And so for the speakers on tonight and for everybody in the building, show them what's possible when you rep the X. Show them what changes when you rock the X. Show them that everything is better when they have the X. So in the words of the great philosopher Fat Joe, nothing can stop you, I'm all the way up.
All right, so let's get started. The first person we're going to introduce is Gia Valentina, who's going to be introducing our first speaker, George Nunes. All right, clap it up. Come on, y'all.
I am more than proud to introduce our next speaker, George Nunes. Now, I'm a fellow Bronx native, and I was so honored when TEDx invited me to introduce George, because George and I went to the same sister schools. So I went to the Bronx School of Law, Government, and Justice, and George went to Eagle Academy. And one thing about both schools is that our former principal is David Banks, who's the current chancellor of the New York City Department of Education. Now, what I love about that is we both have that same spirit of community. Now, I work in Web3 now, and you must wonder, like, what is Web3? What is metaverse? The Web3 is just the internet in 3D. But it's also a place where people are sharing and building through community. Now, both George and I have this one passion, and our principal, David Banks, used to say, we can all be leaders, but we have to lift our voices. So I couldn't be more proud to introduce George today to talk about mentorship and how that's impacted him. Please welcome to the stage, George Nunes.
Wow, Gia, that was an amazing intro. Can everyone do me a favor and can I get a yer? Can I get a hand? Sounds like the Bronx to me. So here is something interesting because people have been talking about what is the metaverse? What is this universe and how can we tap into it? How can we get involved? How can we get access? And I'm here to not only break that down, but also show how it should be an inclusive community and not an elitist thing, right? When you want to think about the metaverse, think about a universe. Better yet, think about multiple universes. Now, add a version of the internet. So you have a version of the internet plus the universe, and it gives you the metaverse. There's different forms of this quote-unquote metaverse. When we want to look at the gaming industry, for example, Fortnite. I'm sure you all have people that play the game, or you might play it yourself. And this is a way for people to interact, engage in friendly sparring, and just play with friends online. If you want to look at another platform, it's SoulWorks. That's a way for people to collaboratively work together, work on their ideas, ideate, contemplate on the next big thing. Another version of it is Decentraland, Spatial. These are all opportunities where people can not only showcase their NFT art gallery, but also participate in fashion shows. As a great friend of mine, Haas, once said, you can be whoever the heck you want to be in the metaverse. But at the end of the day, there's not only versions of the metaverse, but there's also people, or rather companies, getting involved into this as well. When we look at Mark Zuckerberg, where he wanted to get ahead of this by rebranding Facebook as Meta, or Microsoft. There's even people in the retail and fast food chain industry that are literally getting involved in the metaverse as well. McDonald's, Chipotle. And they're literally have an opportunity where you can convert those bucks into meals. And I understand, we're in the Bronx right now, but we got to give credit where it's due. So, unfortunately, I'm going to shout out Brooklyn, right? The Brooklyn Nets is literally the first sports team, NBA team, to launch their own version of the metaverse called the Metaverse, where you can literally watch the basketball game in live time through 3D rendering cameras. But I don't want to talk too much about that because even dating back from the late 1800s, it's been around. But the first time the term was actually used was in a book called Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, where we had a regular pizza guy delivering pizzas and a person with a katana that wanted to escape their natural realities into a virtual one. And also, I think this is important, right? This is the first ever TEDx BRONX we have in this greatest borough in New York City. And I have to acknowledge the theme, Ignited. I know everybody that comes from the Bronx, we have a chip on our shoulder. We feel like we've been doubted against, or we had to beat the odds or figure out a way to secure our future. And that's literally what happened to me. Coming from a disenfranchised community, the projects, poverty, that all motivated me, going in and out of homelessness or shelters, that only motivated us to succeed and thrive. Through that, I've been able to graduate from high school, go off to college, major in finance, work on Wall Street, and even work at a startup. But it wasn't possible. It wasn't feasible without family and friends, but not only that, mentors. Mentors played a pivotal role in my life, and without them, I wouldn't be here today. But this is why I'm introducing a new solution, a new opportunity, because as we've seen, being in the Bronx, coming from these different disenfranchised communities, people don't have a way out. They don't have a solution. A prime example is when we've experienced this virtual reality already, unfortunately, and that was COVID-19. And while it's still going on and we're still phasing out of it, we've lost so many people, but not only that, unfortunately, we've hurt or damaged relationships. And while COVID damaged relationships, the metaverse built them. The Bronx was my bubble. The Bronx was my metaverse. And I'm offering a new opportunity, a new platform where we can literally sign up, engage in questionnaires, and we'll be able to align ourselves with different mentors, not only in the Bronx, in New York, in the US, and across the world. And I hope that we can all move forward, because just like we've shown that we've been able to thrive and surpass COVID, we can also dismantle this digital divide and move forward with this new platform, AKA mentoring in the metaverse. So I hope that you all can join me, move together, and we'll thrive. Thank you.
This next person, I'm honored to introduce. And the reason for that is, as a neonatal pediatric specialist, in the last couple of years of what we've been through in the hospital, taking care of individuals, risking our lives, this person is very important to me. To introduce a person who has 12 years experience as a healthcare strategist is critical. To introduce an Afro-Latino individual, a queen. When I married a Latino queen, I see you somewhere in there, babe, I got points today. When I have Afro-Latino daughters, I'm excited that one day they could be like this individual and be a CEO. own a company like Radical Health, and make change in the community as a Bronx native. That was delayed. We can't be delayed like that next time. All right? With that, and if I say the name wrong, I don't want no problems. Evelise and Dino, I said it right? Yes, go!
I'm just taking it all in. All right. So, growing up, I wanted to be a doctor. Watching my mom build her career in the health insurance industry showed me the power of health, community, and the potential success that that could bring. She taught me that I could be whatever I wanted. I just had to dress the part. And so I did. Even when I worked as a waitress, I would dress in business casual clothes, go downtown to my job, put on my waitress dirty gear, work a full shift, and then as soon as I was done, change back into my business clothes and catch that rush hour train back uptown. Sometimes that paid off. Like when I finally landed my first corporate job in healthcare, I dressed the part even more. This Bronx girl swapped her curly hair, Jordans, and my big hoop earrings for a fresh blowout, some heels, and a pair of pearls. They weren't real, but still. I wore those pearls every day to work where I trained doctors in the industry. I made it. I finally had a good job, a great salary. I was learning so much. I could see the life I had dreamed of finally becoming a reality. Then one day, the click-clack of those heels led me to a Bronx emergency room. But this time, it wasn't for work. After 2 days of testing and endless exams, I finally got the news. My mom had cancer. Suddenly, the pearls seemed to matter more. I knew that this was the beginning of a journey, one that my mom prepared me for, and I wasn't gonna let her face this alone. And with everything that I had seen growing up in the Bronx, all the things I learned over time, all the work I was doing in healthcare, I knew I could figure this out. I was wrong. Despite my high hopes and the sense of security my job brought me, I quickly realized that the system didn't care who I knew, what I wore, or how well I communicated. Me and my mom would always be Latinas from the Bronx on Medicaid. And no amount of pearls, real or fake, would help me transcend a healthcare system that was complicated and not designed to treat people equitably. I felt angry. I was lonely, but also determined, because anyone from the Bronx knows when things get hard, we go harder. So I decided to double down. I was gonna fix this problem, a broken healthcare system, because no one should have to experience this kind of pain and loneliness. One of the first things they told us when we were desperate for answers was that my mom couldn't have any organic foods or vegetables. Basically, they said the chemo would make her weak, and if there was bacteria on the food, it could make things worse. It was recommended that she only eat processed foods, basically anything that came in a package or pre-wrapped. And coming from a Puerto Rican family where my grandfather grew vegetables on a farm growing up, even in our tiny little kitchen window in New York City, he still grew those tomatoes. Natural foods were a part of our culture. It was who we are. This was the first of many moments to come where what I knew intuitively would contradict with what I was being told. For most of us, especially if you are Black, brown, immigrant, poor. When we encounter the healthcare system, whether it's through an emergency or just trying to get routine care, we're often made to feel like we are the problem. They say we don't understand what's happening, we don't follow directions, we can't be trusted. But the reality is, there aren't strong enough bootstraps to pick ourselves up by. There isn't enough knowledge to trickle down, to reach communities that were never listened to or provided resources in the first place. At this point in my life, I was literate in healthcare. I knew the difference between co-pays and deductibles, even how to navigate prior authorizations. I had the scientific knowledge of my mom's condition and her diagnosis. I knew what the treatment options were for leukemia. I was speaking their language, but they weren't speaking mine. Even I, who knew how to read, write, and talk the language of healthcare, was condescended to. It made me realize healthcare needed to change and led me to start Radical Health. Angela Davis said, "Radical simply means grasping things at the root. And Radical Health gets to the root of healthcare through community." You see, this all started around my kitchen table. I invited people and listened to the folks tell their stories for hours on end. I knew that I wasn't the only one who was frustrated and alone. In fact, there were many people, doctors, teachers, strangers on the street, maybe many of you here today who feel the same way. These early conversations were the blueprint for what Radical Health would be, and I see them as the future of what healthcare could look like across the United States. We know that conversations alone are not enough. We need action. Who listens to you when your doctor won't? Where do you go when you feel alone and frustrated with your health? What happens afterwards? The circle that happened in person at my kitchen table was not enough. But what became clear over those 9 months Sorry. I think we're just missing. Okay. But what became clear over those 9 months was that there was a social and cultural disconnect. Today, we're taking it a step further by using tech to bring those early conversations online using indigenous circles. There, we connect peers in conversations with one another and add in a chat where you are set up to ask questions of your provider before, during, or after a visit. We're here to help you understand your health and navigate this experience on your terms. This work that started in the Bronx is now expanding across the country. Good or bad, the Bronx has a reputation that precedes it. For years, researchers studying the Bronx come to our borough to study our problems and our pain. They look at how highways built in the 1920s impact our high rates of asthma. They study how a lack of mental health resources here in the Bronx is tied to a faulty insurance model. We've had some of the worst health outcomes in the United States. But let me tell you, we're more than a case study. We're a community. And if it wasn't for the Bronx, this radical health thing probably wouldn't be going on. Because when the healthcare system failed me, my community stepped up. In those early days when I sat at my kitchen table listening to my friends and neighbors, I realized I didn't need a seat at somebody else's table. I needed to add more of the right chairs to my own. Each and every one of us are impacted by the healthcare system. And we must be the co-authors and leaders of this change. So today, I'm asking you to pull up. Have the conversations about your health, ask the questions, build the community with one another. Because when we rebuild a healthcare system for the Bronx, by the Bronx, we're building a better system for everyone. Thank you.
Every dream begins with a dreamer. Sometimes in certain communities, certain situations, that dream is taken from us, right? Y'all supposed to say, preach, brother, come on, man. Trying to get deep, now y'all gotta make me get funny, come on. We in the Bronx. But now, on a serious note, sometimes in our communities, circumstances, family trauma, things that we can't, things that is out of our control, we lose that dream. However, this next individual not only dreamed, he did, right? Every dream requires action. And this individual broke a lot of stereotypes. Not only was he a scientist as a black man from the Bronx, he studied neuroscience books. He fulfilled his father's dreams, and he created the first blue wine ever. Clap. And I'm gonna say this wrong, but since we was drinking it for free, we gonna try it. And you see, the name is real nice, so I gotta do it too. It's like a low tone. Amor Giovanni. Come on, do it with me, come on. Come on, no, we ain't laughing, do it with me, come on. 1, 2, 3. Amor Giovanni. I quit. No, I'm joking. Come on, y'all. Amor Giovanni.
Oh my God.
Give it up for Cavello. I don't even know the last name. Let's go.
Ha ha! Great job, great job. The Bronx, El Bronx. I brought my father up here with me. He's quiet, but I'm gonna have him right here with me, all right? I'm gonna tiptoe around him. So, mi gente, my people, nosotros en el Bronx, en Nueva York. Goodness gracious, who would have thought? Who would have thought? TED Talk in the Bronx. I never would have thought. And I never would have thought I'd be on the stage either. It's incredible. You know, and the number one thing that I want everybody to know today is that I'm an example. I'm here as an example because we are all vessels. And until we understand that, our blueprint is never going to be laid fully. So, today, I'm going to share with you my deep blue journey that all stemmed from the concrete which grew a rose. Now, I'm from Gun Hill 227, and yeah, whoa. But I moved down to Soundview, which is right down the street down there, right? Bruckner Plaza, all that over there, we all know, right? Oh, this is gonna be a good one. But I was raised by a mother and a father. My mother is by way of Dominica, not a Santo Domingo, pero yo, la isla de Dominica. So, Rock University. And my father is from Puerto Rico. Yeah, Puerto Riqueño Boricuas in the building, yeah? Claro que sí. Stop, let me stop. But the one thing that my parents always made sure, for me at least, was education. Education being the number one thing that they were always focused on. My mother, 25 years, correction officer at Bellevue Hospital. I don't know if anybody knows what Bellevue Hospital is, but a very rough place. And my father was a military man, communications engineer. He's traveled all around the world. And the number one thing that he left with me was the most important thing that we have in this life is our blueprint. Now, the blueprint can either be something to inspire people to aspire to be something better, or it can be the carbon footprint for people to learn by. Now, my father also taught me many different things, and he taught me not only resiliency, but having a heart and love, which is the most important thing we have. Now, can everybody throw me up a peace sign right now? This peace sign resembles peace of mind. Now, this is going to be an interactive conversation, so I want everybody to follow me when I give little presentations, okay? So, I end up leaving the Bronx, and my father ends up getting redeployed back to an area in Pennsylvania, Susquehanna County to be exact. And I went to a little school in Kingsley, Pennsylvania, Mountain View Junior Senior High School, and I was the as in singular, token black gent in that school. Now, a lot of people would sometimes say, wow, how did you make it through that? Well, there was a lot of, hey, you know, you're my buddy, man, you know, you're my Nick. Well, you know you can't have him come out to dinner because you know how mom gets when she gets drunk and he's black. I lost my identity. And it was difficult trying to gain that back throughout my life because, you know, when you're looked at as a black man in America, sometimes it can be a little bit undaunting and miscued in the lines, but one thing that I did learn in that situation is that it doesn't necessarily matter what color we are. We're all human beings and we go through pain, loss, wins, and gain. Everybody say with me, loss, and wins. Now, I loved sports. I was a runner. I was a wrestler. Played a little bit of basketball. That's not my shot, so. But I was more of a distance runner, and I love distance running simply because it's angelic. You know, I would run through the forest and the trees of this rural area, and I would just escape. And I was also a very, very cerebral young man. I always had a deep voice, such as you hear now, very outspoken, I believe, but I was always very cerebral. And the one thing that I always enjoyed the most was being centered and alone. And I feel like that's how I was able to get my creativity back. But after I graduated high school, I ended up going to college in Ohio. Can anybody say OH? I-O. That's the little slogan that they have out there, so shout out Ohio. But I ended up studying applied sciences, and then I ended up going for biochemistry and minoring in petroleum engineering. Wow. So, and the reasoning behind this was because I had a great buddy of mine that wanted me to take this on, and I said, hey, let's have at it. Can everybody give me a thumbs up and say, in Coviello we trust? Anyway, my junior year of college, that same gentleman, my father, that you see right here next to me, he called me, and I heard a distraught sound in his voice, and I've heard it before. Now, my father suffered from depression, and he dealt with it in ways that I kind of did when I was younger and jogging. I used to jog out in the middle of the woods and just jog for miles, and he used to do the same thing. And I heard in his voice, he said, you know, I'm leaving New York. He was in Arizona at this time, but he said, you know, I'm leaving and I'm probably not coming back. And I said, okay. And I heard it. I couldn't do nothing about it. And I lived my life always trying to help and assist, and knowing that I couldn't help my father in his time was one of the most detrimental things that I think I've ever dealt with. 3 days later, I get a call. They found my father on the 23rd line, an MTA line. He got hit by the train. The amount of resentment, disgust, I lost composure completely because there's nothing I could do. But I knew that my father left me behind his blueprint, and I carried on. Now, after I finalized school, I ended up working in the field as a extraction agent, a little bit in the petroleum engineering field. And I won't say anything bad about the petroleum engineering field. There are good things and bad things, but my father was a nature-oriented gentleman, and he absolutely loved the earth, and oil and gas doesn't really complement to that too well, so, and there was a lot of disparity that also came that reminded me of the things that I dealt with in high school and things of that nature. So I left. Now, this is where it gets fun. I wanted to create something that was a blueprint for my father because my father left me behind. So what I ended up doing was traveling to the city that he loved so very much, which is Geneva, Switzerland. And Amours Genève was actually comprised as a love-hate relationship here, but I was able to utilize my skills of molecular gastronomy and a little bit of viticulture and enology to figure out a way to take the skins of Nebbiolo grapes and remove the hydrogen and oxygen from those skins, allowing the natural reaction to be very similar to if you've ever seen fire and oxygen maybe separated, and you know, or a little bit of blood and plasma in that density scale of bringing it into a centrifuge and allowing it to scale to a point where you have blood plasma. Or if you look at it, it's like oil and water. You put it in a bucket and they both separate, right? But still comprising of the same components. But we ended up doing this with Nebbiolo grape skins and allowing it to go from an acidic level into an alkalytic composition, which makes it even much more of a health benefit for individuals that have acid reflux, Crohn's disease, and esophagus lining issues. And aligning it to go back into a Spanish white wine, which is a Verdeco and Chardonnay, that we also did utilize at the vineyards in Alicante. We were proud to say that we were not only able to get the WIPO patent, which is the worldwide patent for not only the world's first naturally blue wine, but the world's first naturally blue composition ever comprised in food and beverage. Amen. Can everybody say, yes? Now, I want to round this story up because realistically, when I brought this in the United States, I thought this was going to be something that was going to be widely accepted because it was, wow, it was history. And then people look and they would say, I don't think that's really for us. Blue wine? That looks like Listerine or Windex. I don't think that's gonna fit our beverage direction here. Nose. But once one door closes, another one opens, and I swung that door up, I kicked it open. And I want to share something with every single person in this room, whether they be entrepreneurs, whether they be dreamers, whether they be lovers, or whatever in the midst of all that. This story not only allowed me to be able to understand how deep the human scale of resilience actually goes, because as you know, being from the Bronx, we deal with resilience. All of my entrepreneurs out there, if there was ever any type of dream that you ever thought, any type of misconception that people would look at you and say, no, you can't do it. No, you're not able. You can't do that. You don't have the money to do that. It's almost physically impossible to think that the amount of scale in a human body will not give you what that man or woman upstairs will manifest for you if you believe. To all my young kids in here, dream. Dream until it manifests, because it always does. Never stop being yourself. No matter how much people say that you're weird or may look different or the music you listen to is not it, follow your dreams. To all my men in here, whatever race, whatever color, whatever sexual origin, understand that we're the providers. And we're the ones that have to survive and deal with resilience the way that we deal with it. We may not feel like we can cry, but I'm telling you what, crying can make you whole again. To my ladies, you are strong beyond belief. Beyond belief. I was raised by a single mother. God bless her, because she's in California enjoying her best life now. Amen. I was raised by women. And you women are the lifeblood of us, men. Whatever it is that you're dealing with, just know that you all will get the first choice of the love that you really encompass in all of us. I'm going to pray over this room. And if you want to bow your head, you can bow. If you do not, that's fine. Whatever celestial energy is up there that you follow, that you love, that you worship, and that you ask for the things that this world presents to us on a daily basis, I want you to bless and blanket over this crowd, not only for the fact that they are here hearing this message that you are delivering to me at this point in time, but I want them to know that there's no limits. There's no level of disparity that they must feel, whatever they're going through in life, whether it be not having enough money, not having enough time, not having a loved one here with us. I want them to understand that they are powerful. I want them to understand that they are great, they are blessed, and they are loved, regardless of if nobody in this world believes it. I want them to go to sleep tonight just feeling what it is that they really want in their life. And I want you to give them that vision, to give them a panoramic view of what it is that their life will be in the near future. God, I want to thank you for giving me this voice to be able to share this with these beautiful, amazing human beings today. Throw your peace signs up in the air again. This is for a piece of me that I'm sharing with all of you today. A man, a woman, a wonderful life to live. And remember, follow your blueprint. Peace.
The next person coming up, this is like my cousin now. Like, we bonded, you know. He was teaching me some tricks. So we gonna give it up for Richard, the yo-yo master, the yo-yo king. And he gonna give us some bars. Let's go. Shout out A&O Records. Let's get it.
Thank you very much. All right. I told you all that I rap too. Here I go again, giving you all this high five. Let the party in the morning time, but I'm not tired. Hustle's been activated, I'm open, exaggerated as a yo-yo ninja. Take the beats and assassinate it. About to level up like Goku, I'm a Super Saiyan. You'll be flying like Hercule, you will lose a hate it. Promise my dad I would've spit too fast. Okay, try to slow down so I won't get too mad. Always in the cut, in the Bronx, near the Brooklyn, Columbia. Walk a little further on it, yeah, what's up? That's by the water where my mother told me never go. Bodies like the lottery. Where you live, you never know. These are the things that made my younger life so fun. World turns got me spinning, dizzy like a nose. Didn't care who was watching. See, I staring and prying. Looking down that I made it, it is a fair and it's shocking. Check it out, look. I'm a hometown hero. Check it. I'm a hometown hero. Yes. Let's get it. I'm a hometown hero. One more time, I'm a hometown. Make some noise for yourselves, everybody. Let's get this great.
Live and direct from the TEDx BRONX. Cool cats in the mix, man. We just can't mess with the best. No, it's straight to the top. Moving you and grooving you, the game won't stop.
If it wasn't for the Bronx,
hip-hop wouldn't be.
If it wasn't for the Bronx,
hip-hop wouldn't be.
If it wasn't for the Bronx,
hip-hop wouldn't be. If it wasn't for the Bronx, hip-hop wouldn't be.
listen, you're now rocking with the greatest. And here and now, I'm gonna issue a statement. Please don't close, I'll say it right to your ear. That
I'm the best you'll ever hear.
Going hard every day is my passion. Sweatpants and hoodies, I don't need no fashion. Yeah, looking good in your neighborhood. Pressing death at the soul for the greater good. Microphone murderer, never really heard of that. Have you ever seen a man hurt his really superb at the flow that he's in? All the flows that he's in. Don't know what you are missing man from the phone I'm saying. How about you love things so cool sound that makes your head pop? I don't know who's down. Living in the world of everyone just mumbles. That's not hip hop.
We're really in trouble. Live and direct from the TEDx BRONX. Cool cats in the mix, man, we just can't mess with the best, going straight to the top. Flow moving you and grooving you, the game won't stop.
If it wasn't for the Bronx,
I wouldn't be.
If it wasn't for the Bronx,
I wouldn't be.
If it wasn't for the Bronx,
I wouldn't be.
If it wasn't for the Bronx,
I wouldn't be.
Thank you all so much. Yo-yoing in music has truly saved my life in more ways than one.
Preach.
Like, for so long, like, I was that kid that constantly got bullied, constantly got to run from school. I went to Lehman High School. Oh, God. Now, before I get out of here, I usually give, like, this quote that has truly changed my life. Everybody in this world has two lives, but the second one starts when you realize you only have one. Thank you all so much.
Give it up.
Appreciate
give
it.
Up. Nah,
TEDx BRONX.
Nah, Richard, don't get off stage yet. Don't get off stage yet. Give me a hug, man. Hold on, stay. Yo, drop the beat. I told him everything. Let's get it. Let's get it. Ah. Sorry. Nah, it's over. I ain't have enough time. You were supposed to be long. I was back there practicing. Yo, y'all ever heard of P. Diddy? Rough Riders? Management, PR extraordinaire. We have a legend about to enter this stage. Making movements in the industry. Again, P. Diddy, PR Rough Riders. This individual has put a stamp on the community. Has put a... Clapping on my mic. Oh, I don't need it. Anyway, this person has put a stamp on the community, has been doing amazing things. You guys clap it up for Avery Watson.
See, I've always known I wasn't meant to work for anyone. I was one of those students who would like write in my notebook and write poems and songs. I remember one day I came into class with my tap shoes in hand, and I asked my teacher, "Can I have the talent show, please?" And of course, I used the art of persuasion, and I said, "The work will be done. Trust me, I got you." And of course, we had the talent show in school. was blessed to have students from a multicultural generation in the Bronx, from all walks of races of life, to share culture with me. You see, I was always trained in dance. I danced at Ruth Williams Dance Studio, 10 years perfect attendance, and I only danced on Saturdays. So I came into school and I said, please, let me dance. So dance for me is more than just expression, it's more than just art, it's communication. Speaking of communication, I had a fluency disorder. I grew up having to go to speech therapy. And for me, you know, suffering from stuttering was an easy obstacle because I really wanted to talk. And my parents would always tell me, the teacher says, you're always talking in class. And I said, I mean, that's the whole point of speech therapy, right? And you guys, that's a blessing to have support. And I knew I was privileged. I knew everyone was not privy to that coming from the Bronx. I recognized the injustices in dance, in institutions, and I wanted to see change. I remember attending a program called Daddy's House Charities. Diddy had a program in Harlem. I would go by and get mentored by Sister Soldier, many other great writers. So as you can see, for my life, my whole career fell on my lap. I found my purpose in music, in dance, and in my community by truly being myself. And I'll tell you guys a few things. Dancers have 4 personality types. 1, being expressive. That means an unstructured way, but they want some attention. We have amiable, and they're very artistic, selfless. Think about a dance teacher that's working for free. We also have analytical, logical, formal, fully aware of their approach. And the last one is my favorite, which is driver, which I can relate to. Drivers are truly assertive, and they want to win. See, I always wanted to win at life. Always. And for me, I never had the dancer, Juilliard, ballet type body. So I turned to hip hop. I went to high school in Harlem, truly thankful and grateful for the culture of Harlem. I was a part of the movement in which we started a movement called Lightspeed. I went to Virgin Douglas Academy. I would party, FDA, you're in the building. I would party and make money. I would promote and charge $5 a person. That's the hustle. That's entrepreneurship. Like I said, I've always known I wasn't meant to what? Work for anyone. During high school, I danced, and I had an amazing teacher, you guys. Mr. Saab. Mr. Saab, he had a ballet stick. This ballet stick was a metronome for me. But for others, if you was on the other end of that stick, I would cover my eyes. See, I was always pushed. And not knowing that I was also a pusher because of injustices. In my heart, I've always known that dance was a way to change the perception, and I've always known the power of media. While I was at Daddy's House Charities program, I was able to have my first press mention in the New York Times. I was only 12 years old. And my father, as you guys probably heard, he was the person that came up to me and my sister and said, come on, you gotta speak to the New York Times. The reporter's right here. and I was wearing a Don't Stop Diddy t-shirt. And I was told that most dancers aren't great runners. But Diddy chose to run. How interesting. Because he's most likely a driver. A dance psychologist, Peter Levant, also said, dance can be a self-esteem builder as long as one has a high tolerance for not getting it right. I even had a rap battle outside of school. Started my own singing group in school. Cheerleading team, I started that in school. I was that chick, meaning not that, I was, I really enjoyed sharing my life with people. And from there, I finally learned the power of my voice, the power of media, perception. I wanted to change that. And with me knowing how important dance was for me in my life, in my community, I was able to show the world. I was doing splits, cartwheels. That was liberating. So today, of course, I'm a dancer. I want to bring out one of my amazing, amazing, amazing students. I met him while I was doing PR. He came out to my artist music videos and showed out. Truly love him. I would love for you guys to clap it up for Xavier and DJ cue the music. Xavier Sanchez.
Remote hit. I woke up feeling good like got a few bad in my wood like she gotta be a 10 if she look right. If your man broke, tell her bum good night. Walk in the room and they stare. Spending money, I don't care. King of this shoe is my chair. Left my worries in the lid. Go y'all print right around the waistline. Rolex diamonds jumping out the face like. Come girl, what you taste like? See the pockets puffy and I'm feeling like I'm aged like. I know what I'm doing. They don't know what they doing. When it comes to flexing, I'm in my ring. Nah, 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 nah. I don't care about the haters. Nah, 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 nah. While we wait, oh, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Oh, let's
He's most likely a driver, like me. Definitely a driver. So the record that you guys just heard was from one of my artists, named Raja, an urban Desi artist, meaning the sounds were a mixture of Bollywood, pop, and R&B sounds. But as you guys can hear, anybody that are dancers or into hip hop, the sound was a mixture of the Bollywood, but also a style that us New Yorkers know of, which is the light beat. And that beat was produced by Reimagining Hitmaker, who is one of the greats in that space. So I just wanted to highlight that so you guys know that it's deeper than just us just dancing on here. These people really put in the work, and I'm here to publicize that. So one day, January 11th, 2020, I got a call that my artist passed away. I was truly devastated. I was up for 48 hours. My phone didn't stop ringing. So many videos, texts, everything was coming through. Of course, the family and I did an amazing tribute. And made sure that his legacy was going on. So in that process, I mean, with a show of hands, has anybody went through a detox due to the pandemic? Anybody? Yeah? Okay, definitely, that was me. I call it a detox. I had a moment, I had to reset. I had to reset my business, the way I approached everything. And I will tell you guys this much. After losing a client, I would never know in my life, like, I would be the person to have to also publicize that. Hurt, you guys. But we are strong, we persevere. And I will tell you one thing that Raja told me. Roger told me to blossom not into what they want you to be, but into who you're meant to be. That really stuck with me because Roger was a ball of light, energy. He didn't care what people say, and he was all about mental health awareness, and this is the month for Mental Health Awareness Month in May. So I wanted to make sure that I absolutely paid homage to him and his family because of mental health awareness. And I wasn't just a manager and a publicist, I actually traveled with him to therapy. So this was absolutely a devastating time, but I will tell you guys one thing. Outside of like marrying all of my skills together and bringing people together, I'm also a teacher. I was always someone that if I see something happening, I wouldn't just let it happen. Okay, I totally do not like when people do that. I have a heart, which means my life path number is 11. If anyone that doesn't know what your life path number is, I suggest that you go find out. My life path number is 11, which means that I'm intuitive and I see a change in the world. This is so tough for me, you guys. I haven't spoken about the artist in so long, so please excuse me. In the process, I persevered. I had a great opportunity. I had a phone call through Zoom, of course, during the pandemic. And this one lady said to me, so I guess you represent clients that aren't meant to be famous. So, again, that wasn't the first time I heard anything, like that. I probably was rushed with my speech, because I was stuttering, or I was too fat for them to love my pliés. I don't know, right? But hey, I've heard it all before. We're gonna let that. We're gonna take it. I took it. And for me, in my response to her now, looking back, my response to her was, at least I was brave enough to live out my mission. In conclusion, I read an amazing book called TEDx BRONX. This is where I was able to apply everything that I've ever known in my whole entire life all together, in which I was working at a 10x level. During the pandemic, I lost 20 pounds. And I wanted to make sure that I understood that I can't be overworked again. Because although I did such amazing things, such as working for Diddy after being a part of his program, which was an aha moment, right? Also, now having Rough Riders, a legendary, as a client for the reunion tour. That was an amazing time to see hip hop in that space and to be a part of that when I'm from the Bronx, the birthplace of hip hop. In life, I've always known I wasn't meant to work for anyone. Do you guys want to win that life? Well, I know that I do too. So join me as we live life and do not forget, it is not about fame. And it never was about fame for me. Never, ever. It was always about a person coming together with another person to share the same common interest. My voice is your voice if you allow me to share whatever it is that you need me to share. See, Maya Angelou stated in her book, The Heart of a Woman, I had to trust in life, to know that life, love the person who dared to live it. Thank you, that was my TED Talk.
Give it up for Avery.
How y'all feeling? Come on, man. I know it's getting late, but come on. It's Friday. How y'all feeling? All right. This next one is for the women. Everything should be for the women, right? You are earth. You are everything. You give life to us. Nobody's here without you guys. So let's give it up for a wonderful individual, a coach, self-empowerment, Miss Aura Martinez.
Hello, hello. I want to start off by saying that you are designed and meant to be living your most passionate life on a daily basis. Probably a bold statement to make for some, because nowadays, with all that is going on all around us, a war in one part of the world, challenges here and there, the news sharing all the bad things that are going on around us, we can easily fall into the trap of thinking and believing in lack, struggle, sadness, hurt, and all the things that can bring anyone down. Especially if you're going through your own challenges, you become even more vulnerable to believing that perhaps this is all there is for you, whatever that this is. When you fall into that trap, one of the dangerous effects of this is that the passion for life can be extinguished. If you find yourself lacking passion in life, or perhaps life isn't the way it used to be before, what I'm going to be sharing with you today, when you apply it, will help reignite the passion from within. That's right, not something outside of you that's going to reignite that passion, but you yourself from within. So with that said, the 3 ways to reignite the passion within are, number 1, remember the truth of who you really are. This is what's going to help you tap into your dreams, tap into your potential. As a matter of fact, you have more potential within you that you can possibly realize in this lifetime. That's how amazing you are. You remembering the truth of who you really are is your fuel. And the truth that I'm referring to is that you are abundance, you are love, you are more than capable, you are energy. When you remember the truth of who you really are, this is when you're able to tap into your vision. You have a vision that is unique to you that perhaps others are not going to understand because they're not meant to understand, because it wasn't placed within them, it was placed within you. The way that you remembering the truth of who you really are helps reignite the passion within is that one of the biggest reasons why someone's passion can be extinguished is because they're too focused on a reality that they do not like. And so this makes them frustrated, angry, worried, believing lies. When you believe things that are not true about you and your life, that's going to start messing with your head. So that's going to start messing with your mindset. Well, perhaps I'm not meant to be making this amount of money, or I guess this is how life is, right? And so what happens to your passion when you have this kind of thinking and belief going on within you? The passion can be extinguished to such a point that you start losing enthusiasm for your life and your desires. When you focus too much on the physical reality and you give into it the what is, that's when you lose your power. This is why it is so important to remember the truth of who you really are, that you are love, that you are powerful, that you are energy, that you are creative, that you remember this, know this, and act like it. That's the key. You gotta know this in every cell of your body and act like it. I'm telling you, this is how you become so magnetic that beautiful things cannot help but be drawn to you. And that's how you start creating your life from the inside out. The second way to reignite the passion within is exercise your power to choose. Every day you are presented with choices. And those choices dictate your present and your future. Now, I think we know this about the big things, right? when we have to make a big decision, we can tell that that influences our present and our future. But what about the small things? That one comment that person said, or that lack of support that you perceive to experience, or that rejection, which, by the way, rejection is not rejection, it is protection, right? These things that I just mentioned, that they seem so small, they're actually the big things. Because if you think about it, when you are not mindful of what you allow here in your ears, here in your mind, here in your eyes, and here in your heart, that's when you can become polluted with negativity and discouragement. And what happens to your passion when that happens? Away goes the passion for life and your desires, right? No one can protect your home and your yard the way you can. I'm using these as metaphors. Home meaning all of you, and your yard meaning your personal space. More on this in a minute. But let's move on to number 3. The third way to reignite the passion within is lean into your curiosity. As adults, we have a lot to learn from children. They are living their most passionate life. I mean, they are playing, they're curious, they're laughing, they're just being themselves and enjoying life. And somehow along the way, we have repressed the playfulness, the curiosity, the willingness to get it wrong in life, and all that has done has been shut us down to the point where we have become afraid to be ourselves. I want you to know this. It's in the playfulness and in the curiosity that you're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to learn more about your potential. You're going to be guided to your passionate and most purposeful life. So, if you leaning into your curiosity or whatever it is that you desire places you in any kind of fear, it's time to unlearn whatever you learned that took you away from your passion. You unlearn what you learned that has taken you away from your passion by first making the decision to do the inner work necessary so that you can develop yourself into who you really are. Now, I know I only said that there are 3 ways to reignite the passion within, but I cannot end this talk without adding this last piece because it is so crucial if you are to live your most passionate life, and that is protect your passion. No one else can do this for you. You can and you must do this for yourself. You do this as you exercise your power to choose. You do this by being mindful of the language that you use towards yourself, by being mindful of what you choose to believe, by remembering the truth of who you really are, and by choosing to surround yourself by others who they too are living their most passionate life, because we need it to be modeled for us. That's part of us reinforcing that belief that we are designed and meant to be living our most passionate life because we're seeing it for ourselves. You doing all this is part of you protecting your home, meaning all of you, your mind, your emotional state, your spiritual state, and believe it or not, your physical state, because whatever you're feeling mentally and emotionally, eventually it will affect you physically. And your yard, meaning your personal space, and you're protecting it from being polluted with negativity and discouragement, which the only thing that these things do is that it extinguishes the flame within you. Now, for anyone that may be thinking, okay, what I just said is very unrealistic, I want you to know that as I am speaking, I am so jet-lagged. I am so jet-lagged because every week I am flying to Europe and there are times that in 2 weeks I do 3 trips to Europe. So I share that because I get what it's like to be physically exhausted, right? And I have a full life, so I get what it's like when you have so much to do. And I get what it's like when you have so much thrown at you. And if I can do all that and go through it all and still be living my most passionate life, so can you. So it is time to elevate the standard for your life and to start tapping within so that you can reignite the passion for you and your life. You depend on it. The people around you depend on you doing that. So it's time. It's time. It is possible. And it's time for you to start living your most passionate life. Thank you.
Woo! Give it up for,
How do I get out of here now?
you done knocked the D over. Don't clap. Nah, I'm joking. Clap it up for Miss Martinez, y'all.
Thank you. Those lights made me blind.
How y'all feeling today?
Gosh, wow.
Y'all feeling good? It's been a long day. We got one more speech for y'all. Y'all ready? This one is special, man. This is actually my elementary school, so it's crazy. I don't even know how to do the bio for this person. It's like I'll be here for 40 minutes naming awards. 2014 NAACP, Outstanding Teacher, Obama cousin, I don't know, he's just special. He's always doing something special. So let's clap it up for Luis Torres, PS 55.
Good evening, everyone. I think I have the hardest spot here. Everybody's ready to go home, but I'm about to throw some fire your way. I did a TED Talk in Connecticut, and I'll tell you right now, this is where the TED Talk needs to be happening, here in the Bronx. This tiger on my shirt represents the children and community I serve. Every day, we remind them to roar with pride, which is being respectful, organized, always safe, and responsible. That's what we teach our children every day. So I'm the principal of a school located in the poorest congressional district in the country, with one of the highest crime rates in the city. It's the Claremont section of the Bronx. I serve 4 housing projects located right in the middle of the housing projects. For a lot of my families, education is a 6th priority. Food, shelter, safety, health, access to technology come before education. And it's not because the families don't value education, it's because life's necessities outweigh education. Okay? Let that dig into your head. Because people want to believe that the pandemic caused all these inequities. These inequities existed way before the pandemic. Okay? The pandemic just made it more visible for people who couldn't believe what was really going on in our communities. Food, shelter, safety, access to technology, health, and then education. I recently posted on social media, if you don't feed the children, they will eat the teachers. Why I say that? Because a child that is hungry sitting in your classroom can't possibly focus on literacy and mathematics with a growling stomach. Some of our children haven't eaten on the weekends, and they're coming in on a Monday, and the first thing somebody wants to say to them is, pay attention in class. Why don't we start feeding our children, feeding our community, so then they can then focus on education? I provide snacks in my school, okay? I have a food pantry in my school. I work with restaurants to provide food for my families. Why? Because we have to make sure that we address that first thing, and that's food inequities that exist in our communities. Then I said, let me focus on safety. Safety. I have a block away from my school, I have a young lady coming home from school, not from my school, but from another school, gets shot in the back of the head. A little girl, a little boy going to his birthday party gets shot in the head. Thank God he's alive. But who deserves that? So when we talk about safety, okay, people want to do marches. I'm tired of marching. Don't invite me to a march. I will not march anymore. Don't invite me to a rally. I will not rally anymore. Let's have real solutions to the problems. Talk is cheap. A lot of people will say the police is the enemy. I view them as a partner because I have to work with the resources that I have access to. Schools, every school should have cameras. Every school should have cameras not only in the school building but around the school building, because when people see cameras, they usually tend to act right. Okay? Then we go into shelter. People will say, Mr. Torres, you have nothing to do with the housing situation around your school. You know what? Being 18 years in the same school building, serving one of the most challenging communities, if I don't focus on the shelter issues around my school, I should be fired and removed from my school building, because shelter is equally important than what I'm doing inside my building. When an elevator is broken in a building, my attendance rate goes down because the mama who lives on the 18th floor can't bring her little grandkid to the school because she's not going to take the staircase. So I better know when there's an elevator broken, because I'm going to call NYCHA myself. So recently there was a fire, and sadly a lot of people were killed. 2 of my former students died in that fire. The sister, husband, and their 3 children of one of my staff members died in that fire. And that hit me in my heart, because I said, maybe I could have done something differently to save them. What if I would have known that in that development, they were using warmers to keep warm, because the boilers and the inadequate heat in those apartments put them in an unsafe situation. As an educated person with a lot of resources, could I have done something different? So we have to start taking ownership for things that we may not think are our responsibility, but as human beings, we are responsible for everything. So we have food, shelter, safety, health, not 62. How many of us know what not 62 is? Not 62 means that we are the worst when it comes to health. I have asthmatics, diabetics, suicidal, all these types of children coming into my building. So you know what I have in my school? I have a hospital in the school building through Montefiore. On the 4th floor, we grow our own vegetables through the Green Bronx machine, because our children will learn to eat kale. Okay? I'm about to unveil a soccer stadium in the back of the school building funded by USA Street Soccer. This is what it's about. This is what it takes. We talk about not 62, but what are people really doing? I serve a community with 3,000 people in 1 square block, and the community center could only service 150 kids. What happens to the thousands of children that don't get serviced? Then we talk about obesity. That's what causes obesity. They have nowhere to go. Somebody asked me, why don't we have black baseball players? You know why we don't have black baseball players? Because there's no investment in our communities to run the baseball programs that they run in other communities. I have a baseball diamond across the street from my school that you can't even tell there's a diamond there because now they use it as a dog park. Okay? This is the type of stuff that we have to push back. All of us here have to get involved. So you got food, shelter, safety, health, access to technology. Could you believe that in a quick moment, the pandemic ended the digital divide? Why couldn't we have done that before the pandemic? Why did it take the pandemic for us to realize that the children didn't have tablets or devices in their hands? And thank God that we had Ruben Diaz as borough president. We had Vanessa Gibson as my city council person. We had Michael Blake as an assemblyman, okay, working in that area where I'm located, and they said enough is enough, let's get devices for every single child, and every single child in my school got a device, every single one. And also Misha Ross Porter, who was the executive superintendent at the time. But why couldn't we have done that before? Then when we get devices in the hands of the children, they got no internet. They got no Wi-Fi. They got the projects didn't have Wi-Fi. You lived in a certain floor, you couldn't get no connection. You lived in a shelter? Could you believe that the shelters do not allow for Wi-Fi because of safety reasons? So our children were forced to go to the local laundromat and connect to their Wi-Fi to do their homework. That is ridiculous. So what we did, we connected with the elected officials, we passed laws, and we pushed people to make sure that Wi-Fi was accessible to everyone. Okay? Now, this is where we are today. This is where we are today. I am afraid of what's coming because I see the digital divide opening up again because people, because the pandemic is getting better, are starting to get comfortable, and the energy and the motivation to do this work is slowly going away. Little by little, you're going to start to see the children are not going to have computers anymore unless we push to make sure that we continue to do this work. My kindergarten came in this year. They didn't have devices. The school was now responsible for buying devices. Not every school gets the same funding. I don't live downtown. My school's not located downtown where the parents can buy devices for the children. So we have to make sure we continue to fight with the same energy we had when the pandemic was coming so that we can make sure all of our children have access to technology. So now once you do all of that work, then we focus on education. And this is where the real work then begins because the pipeline to prison runs smoother than the pipeline to college and career. Okay? And it's mostly for our black and brown children. Right? So we have to be the plumbers and dismantle that pipeline and reshift it to where it needs to go. High schools have to have a purpose. When I was going to high school had a purpose. You were either going to high school to learn and be educated and go to college, or you was going to become a mechanic, a technician, or some other career trade. Our high schools can become pipelines to the police force, to the fire department, to school construction, to other jobs that are maintained in the city but are being given to people in New Jersey and other areas that don't even live in our city. We need to create pipelines with our own youth. You know what? I guarantee you the unintended consequence of us creating a pipeline to the police force will be better police relations with the community. Because if our children are the police, we're going to treat them better, and we're going to respect them, and they're going to respect us the same way. So education has to have a purpose. And to give you proof that these pipelines work, I have a young lady who was a student in my school who worked her way up, and now she's a 5th grade teacher in my building. Her name is Miss Kebe. Miss Kebe is a 5th grade teacher. She's official as of this year, and I'm so happy I was part of that pipeline. She was a product of African community, which people always like to talk down about different races and different cultures. Well, Miss Kebe stayed focused. We created a pipeline in our school where we were pushing the African women to get educated, and then we were also doing with their children and getting them into education. Right now, I'm happy to announce I have 10 African women who work in my school as school aides, paraprofessionals, Ms. Kebe, the teacher, and I recently hired my parent coordinator as an African young lady as well. Why? Because the community is an African community. The school should be reflective of the community it is located in. If that community was Bengali, I would do the same thing with Bengali. If that community was Spanish, I would do the same thing with Spanish. And sadly, when I started to make that shift, people were saying I was racist towards Hispanics. And I said, I'm Puerto Rican. How am I racist to Hispanics? What I'm doing is I'm serving my community the best way that I can. And if I have to push back on whoever I have to push back to make sure that the people who live in that community get the resources that they deserve, then I'm going to do it. So I leave you with this. My reason for doing this work is the reason why I wear this tiger, and that's Miss Kebe, who is my baby, who is now my teacher. Thank you all.
Y'all better stand up. Come on now. That was our last speaker, but we're going to end it. We're about to end very, very soon. I just want to give credit. Danny, come on out here. Danny, the organizer, one of the people who made this possible, who brought us all together, who reached out, who spent her time. Clap it up for the queen. Everybody stand up, please.
And no, we cannot let him leave the stage. A round of applause for our amazing host, John Conyers, the professional winner.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We have a special treat to close out, but first I want to thank everyone who made this night possible, everyone who's here tonight, all of our volunteers, definitely Majora Carter, the owner of this amazing Bronxlandia. And just as a fun fact, Majora actually was one of the first TED speakers. So her connection to TED runs deep. You should definitely check out her talk online. Thank you to Suma Arzu Brown of Suma LLC, an amazing resource and always there for us. Thank you again to our sponsors, Amazon, Gun Hill Brewery, Amora Geneve, and BronxNet for filming this event. Thank you to my amazing daughters who are here tonight, Hannah and Sayuri, my love. And to close out this event, we have Aura de la Luna.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? So I'm really excited to share this song with you tonight. It's called Fire. Ready?
Fire, fire.
to sway when you can't see my face. Try to stay out the way. I stay out the way. Have no fear. Don't have no fear. When you lead with your heart and you lead with your trust and you lead with the truth. Fire, fire. I feel like the world is on fire. Oh, please take me higher to a place where I wanna be. Fire, fire. I feel like the world is on fire. Oh, please take me higher to a place where I can be free.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and thank you for coming out.